to Creative Pickings. This is Dee Jae Pa'este. I had to write this down too because this is cool. You're a muralist that's been doing that for a while. I wanted to get that politically correct. Muralist. Yes. And Johnny Walker actually called you a social catalyst.
Social catalyst. Yeah, that was actually pretty interesting.
Wait, so obviously we're going to get into the art, but I wanted to start off with that, being a social catalyst. Like what, how would you define that? Because that's broad to me, man.
I think social catalyst, someone that can spark something that inspires the community, the neighborhood. Someone that's making changes. Someone that's, like trying to start a new movement or furthering a movement. I mean, I think there's a lot of things. And for me, I'm someone who likes to gather people. At events, I like to throw, festivals. I like to do art shows. I like to connect with people through murals and connect with the community. So I guess there's a lot of things. I mean, like being a part of starting the neighborhood in Poblacion, with the art scene and with the food movement here. I think that's something that trickles down and it inspires a lot of people to start their own neighborhoods. So, I mean, like social catalyst can mean so many things, but I guess the way they use it is someone that, kind of makes changes in the community that are for the better.
Bringing the people together.
Bringing people together.
I know you have a lot of interviews online, but for those who may not know you, I'd be surprised if they didn't, because you're responsible for a lot of amazing art, and of course, bringing people together. But can you tell us briefly how you started here in the Philippines with your career as an artist and who you are today?
So I was living in Tokyo for about 4 years, doing art there and fashion, and after I came back to the States, I moved to New York, and I was meeting a lot of people, doing a lot of art there. Started a clothing line and a jewelry collection called Mr. with my partner from SF, and I was just doing the New York life. Like we were doing a lot of trade shows, doing events, and I came to the Philippines for a vacation just to visit family, and I was gonna go back to Japan after that, and then back to New York, and I got stuck here during the tsunami. It was in 2011, and so I couldn't go to Japan anymore. My trip got canceled, so I ended up at B-Side in the Collective in Makati, and I met some people there and connected with the people from gallery called Vinyl on Vinyl. Gabby De La Merced, Pia, Danger, and JJ. Like all the people from Vinyl on Vinyl like loved what I was doing and invited me back out for a show. And I met all the people in the community and just kind of connected with everyone. I saw this amazing scene coming together at the Collective.
Just because you were stranded here.
Yeah, and like I didn't know anyone, and I usually come to the Philippines to visit my family and go to the province, and I didn't know what the art scene was like, or what the food scene was like, or what the music scene was. And B-Side, Vinyl on Vinyl, all these places, Wingman, everyone that was in the Collective was just like this amazing, creative space, and all these like shared kind of like ideals. And I was like, man, it feels like, home. It feels like something really cool. So when they invited me back a few months later, I had a 2-week ticket, and I was going to be here, do an art show, paint, and it turned into 2 months, then 2 years, and now it's been almost 8 years I've been here.
8 years, What attracted you to the culture here versus in Tokyo and New York? Because I'm sure the art there is amazing too.
I mean, one thing I tell everyone is, look, I was in Japan for a long time. I learned Japanese and did Japanese cultural things, but I would never be Japanese. And same thing in New York. I can be in New York forever, but I'll never be a New Yorker. I'm from California, But in the Philippines, I just felt very welcomed. I felt a lot of love. I felt a lot of support here, and it just felt like it felt like home. People made me feel welcome, and you could be anyone. You could be any ethnicity, any race, but you're Filipino. Like when you hang out with other Filipinos, and it's very welcoming. And like I said, like it's somewhere where I feel I can still grow and learn a lot, because I'm learning about my culture. I'm connecting with my family. I'm constantly meeting people who are coming back home, and I feel like there's so much creativity here. The local Filipinos. I mean, I've always been a fan of Filipino artists. Like growing up, I was always trying to research about other Filipino artists like Tony DeZuniga, who's like the Marvel and like DC, like old school, rest his soul. Like I got to meet him when I came out here, stuff like that. Like coming out here, I got to meet some of my Filipino artist heroes, or my some of my mentors like were showing me like Ben Cab or Santi Bossi and all these amazing Filipino artists that are based in Baguio and all over, and they were doing something different that I kind of connected to, and I wanted to come out and see what that was about.
All right, so it's important to you to stay connected to your heritage.
Yeah, I mean everything I paint is a part of me. My mom is like Polynesian and Irish. My dad's Filipino, so I try to connect a lot of the things that I grew up and got surrounded by. Like the Polynesian side is like very tattooed, a lot of cultural connection, a lot of tradition, and I think Philippines has that same kind of connection too. There's a lot of different influences we have from a lot of our the colonization that happened in the Philippines, and also the indigenous like culture that we have here too. So I mix a lot of the things that kind of are important to me, and that's what comes out in art.
Nice.
Yeah.
Talking about that, you're well known, if not becoming super well known, for a lot of your mural art nowadays. Like from outdoors, inside restaurants. Like, what made you decide? Because you just mentioned earlier you're doing fashion and you're obviously into food. But what made you decide that you wanted to focus on like mural art?
I think mural art is natural. It came at a very early age. I've been doing graffiti and street art since I was like 9 or 10 years old. So a little over 20 years now.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, I'm in my early 30s now, and it's just something that I can't live without. It's second nature. Taking an idea in my head and blowing it up to like a 50-foot mural on the wall. And it's free. I mean, the canvases are there.
Right.
And I feel like using my whole body to create something, and the movements of doing a mural, rather than taking the same amount of time to paint something on a canvas or something really small. It takes me longer to work on a small piece than it does to do a giant wall.
Yeah.
I think just because like I said, it just comes natural, and the importance to me, like for public art, is that you're giving art to a space and to people, and you're giving it to, back to nature. It's gonna interact with the elements. It's gonna age. It's gonna get seen. It's gonna get tagged on. And I think I like the chaos of that and like the unknown of that. And with spray paint, it's very immediate, and it reflects a lot of the stuff in my life and how I kind of live my life. It dries right away. I can finish it. I can be done with it in an hour, and I'll just leave it. And it's one of those things. It's capturing a moment. It's capturing some ideas, and people get to enjoy it, for a good amount of time.
I want to pick your brain about your specific style or art. Like how do you crack? Because in my opinion, you've kind of created your own style.
Yeah.
When it comes to that form of art, how did you do that?
I mean, I grew up reading a lot of comics, watching a lot of like cartoons and anime, and being around a lot of graffiti and tattoo artists. So it's a culmination and like a mixture of all those things. The heavy bold lines, the tribal patterns, the robotics, but it's touching upon a lot of things that we don't have around us, like it's bringing back spirituality and enlightenment and nature and, like the animals and the spirits back into, the spaces and the neighborhoods that I painted in. And I think it's important that we stay connected to the culture and to, just being aware of our surroundings and, what came before us. From our ancestors to, the nature elements and just the culture. Like I intertwine a lot of Filipino tapestry and textiles and patterns to kind of give a lot of like in recognition to the native like weavers here in the Philippines, or even like the native tattoo artists and people that are still keeping traditions alive. And I think through art, we have stories to tell, we have things to pass down. And one thing I always tell people is when civilizations they get discovered or studied, like what's studied, it's the books and the scrolls and the art on the walls. But art on the wall is like what you see in museums. It's our form of beautifying the city and telling our story.
People are gonna study you one day, man.
That's what I hope. I mean, like, I've got murals in like, you know, different countries all around the world, and like, there's gonna be some connection. Like, what is this? What are these lines? What does this mean?
The conspiracy of it all. Someone's gonna write about you.
Yeah, and like, and that's the hope, is that, you know, like, when I leave a place, my art resonates, you know, long after I've left that place, and that's my goal, is just to leave art everywhere and just spread good energy. I mean, with my art too, I mean, they're enlightened beings, they're meditative, you know, like animals, and like they're people listening to music and finding a center, or, you know, finding their peace. And I think that can affect somebody, if, you know, subliminally, when you're walking by, if it's just in your neighborhood, if you see it every day. And art, in the way that people meditate and chant and do mantras, art can be a contact point. Art can be healing. And I think as creatives, you know, I always feel like you have the ability to uplift people. So why don't we do that more often? Especially in times like this, where it's so dark, people are so in need of inspiration and creativity and light. You know, be the light bearer, be that catalyst, you know? Whether it's social, whether it's artistic, whether it's whatever, just be something that makes change and makes someone's day a little better, or, you know, can bring energy and color to someone's, you know, kind of dull world or life. Yeah.
The only sad thing, man, I wish you could like stamp your name on every mural you do, like a huge, you know, because a lot of people don't actually know that you're the one responsible for these giant murals all over, like
I mean, like,
and Makati. Like,
I think if you see enough of them, you'll see my name somewhere on them. But like, you know, I'm not here to kind of like, you know, big up myself. I'm just spreading the artwork. And you know, if I wanted to tag my name, I'd be a graffiti artist, like straight up, and then leave my name everywhere. But you know, it's one of those things that I like, that the art speaks for itself, and the art is my signature. Hopefully, people see it enough, they kind of realize, you know, they'll follow the lines and the patterns back to me.
In an interview, I found this really interesting, man. You said that you're actually a little bit picky about where you have art.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, you're sharing your energy. Like, the art, they're my creations. They're like my children. And I want to be connected to places that represent me and that I support. So if, you know, there's a restaurant that has my artwork in it, that's my style. I've done a lot of spots that I haven't signed, and you don't even know it's mine. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've done like some pretty big places that, you know, like, it's just work. Work is work.
And you're like, damn, why'd I do that?
No. I mean, like, I love to. People still need art, regardless. You know, everyone that wants art can get it, but not everyone like has my style or my personal art, because that's the only, you know, that's how I represent myself. So. If there's like, you know, one really good sushi spot that I really like, then I'll put my art there.
You're like, yo, can I put something on there?
Yeah, and like, you know, it's just, I connect with the people, and I connect with the vibe and the food, and it's just something special that happens, and that's important to me, because that's my stamp of approval, you know. And I don't work with all the brands that approach me, or the people. I mean, we don't always share the same ideals, or, you know, like, I guess, mindset on what art can be or what art should represent. And some people just, you know, want my stuff to put on the product or whatever, and that's not how it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be something that I want to be a part of. And I think all artists should take themselves, you know, hold themselves accountable, like, for what they create, and create responsibility, you know. If you're doing something, like, make sure that you're sharing, you know, something positive or something that means something to you. Yeah.
It's a tough balance, though, being an artist, you know, there's a part of us sometimes where we have to sell out, and of course you want to stick to your guns, right? Like, if this is my art, how do you sort of, like, do you balance, like, have you ever sold out? How do you balance that out?
I mean, I think selling out is a very iffy term for me, because I mean, I am a commercial artist and I do commercial projects with corporations, but I still, like I said, I still hold my ground, and I do what makes me feel comfortable. And I think as long as you're doing something that makes you happy at the end of the day, and it really, like, you know, has a foundation that you built up about, you know, your ethics and your principles and what you believe in, then that works. And like, if brands want to work with me, they have to kind of, you know, work with what I have and work with what I have to offer. Yeah,
that's what I meant by selling out, as in not being able to do what you want exactly and just doing what the client wants.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to see me, like, you know, like drawing on like naked women and, like, you know, and booty shaking videos and stuff like that, because that's not me. You know, but certain brands I will partner up with, like I said, you know, you got to pay bills, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do art and make money and create for a purpose.
Yeah.
Not everyone is able to sell their art or able to like find that like niche where you can work with brands or you can have a market for it. So it's all about balance. I mean, that's what art's about. It's about balancing like nature, technology, old world, new world. You see that in a lot of my stuff, and it's always about like finding your like I said, your center and your balance.
It's very spiritual, man. Very zen.
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
I need that in my life in order to like
stay sane, man.
Stay sane, yeah.
One of the things that made me actually want to sit down with you too, man, is your sense of community, especially within the art scene. I know you mentioned it earlier, but why is it so important for you to have community? Like, there are so many artists that are just trying to do it so that they can survive and make money, whereas you are like, you're just giving it away, man, and you're just bringing people together.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I think everyone has their own goals and their own, reasons.
Yeah.
And truths. And for me, mine is, I'm only as strong as people around me. I'm only as strong as people that support me. With a community, you have people that you can pour back and forth into. It's reciprocal. It's, it's supportive in a way that, you feel like when you get drained, you can turn to someone else and collaborate with them. Or, if I can't enjoy my own art, I can go and enjoy someone else's, or I can go listen to someone's music that I connect with. And rather than having all these heroes that I've never met, I can't, aren't tangible to me. I have these people around me that, are my community that I believe in and I admire and I'm inspired by. And I think even with my space like that I opened 3 years ago with my partner's Kapwa studio, that started as somewhere for a community. It was a platform for not just me, but for my Kapwa, like the people around me, fellow artists, fellow creatives, and that was something that we wanted to open up to people to perform there, to share there, to create there, to transform there. So it was a lot of different things, and I think that's what gives me the strength, is that I'm sharing murals and art and like myself with a whole city and a whole country and a whole neighborhood or a whole space, and that's where I get the energy from. That's why live art, when I paint live at events, you're capturing the energy that's in that room, what's going on, the vibe, and you're putting it on the canvas, and you're capturing that moment, and I feed off of that, and I think that's why I get that high from creating with people around me, and that's my way to be social, is to share the art.
That's the way you can be extroverted, is through art.
Because some people they want to just lock themselves in a room and like brooding artists and tortured, and like I'm not that. I can't, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's how some people create.
That's how they release.
Pain is therapy and like art is therapy for them, but my art is cathartic in a way that it needs to be coming from a positive space and a balanced space, and I need to be in a good headspace. I have to be have eaten a good meal, and I got to be like in a good mood, and I got to be like positive, and I got to be sober, and
so that's your routine. I was gonna ask that too. Like prior to creating, do you have that space? Like
I mean, like I do a little breathing, and I do a little just like kind of like scan the room and vibe check, and then I can create. But one thing that's super important is the music. Gotta have music. I mean, that's why everyone's always wearing headphones. It's always flowing in my art, because it's capturing, like I said, like what I'm feeling when I'm listening to.
Nice.
So music is a big element. Even when I'm at home drawing, it's like the right music can change the way and change the things that I'm painting.
Right on.
Yeah. So it's very like I said, it's creative stuff flowing through me and then spilling out onto other stuff.
What do you want to see, or do you have any plans for the future for the art community? You're one of the guys who's in charge of building the art community here in Poblacion.
Yeah.
What do you see in the future, man? What would you like?
I mean, I hope more people get inspired to paint walls. I want more artwork. I want less banners and less ads on the freeway, and more paintings, like more creativity, more things that people can connect to. and more cultural art, more things that are Filipino.
Yo, what if politicians
Yeah.
hired you to do like their ads, right?
I mean,
Is that breaking the system?
I mean, yeah. For me, like,
Political,
You
like,
know, like,
their political views in an artistic way.
if it's someone that I support, then yeah. But I don't want to get involved in politics. I mean,
Yeah,
everyone
just
already
kidding.
calls me like the you know, like the mayor of Poblacion or
Yeah,
whatever.
man.
Like you know, you should run for Kakao.
The artistic
barangay
politician.
captain. Like nah, you know, like I do it for the love. I do it for the strength. I do it for, you know, just to get people together. And
Yeah.
you know, there's no my politics are that I don't do politics. I don't get
You know
involved.
what though? That's not too far off, man. You bring the people together. They love what you do. They believe in you.
Yeah.
You're a leader, so hey.
Yeah. Being a leader
Don't
is
count
different
it
from
out.
being a politician, though, for me. I think sometimes, like, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, you got to get dirty to work with, you know, the system.
This
and,
is true, though.
You know, like, I like to keep my soul untainted. I feel like, you know, that's a lot of responsibility sometimes. And I commend people who can go through it, but it's just not for me. Like, I do stuff because I want to do it, not because I have to.
Said like a true artist.
And
man.
that's the difference. Yeah.
My reason for that is I'm just too lazy, man. Forget
Yeah.
you.
And it's draining, man. Like, I have my moments, and, like, you know, it
Yeah.
is hard, like, constantly doing stuff and constantly, like, you know, working with people, and, you know, you get tired, but, like, people that, you know, I do get inspired by, like, refill me, and going
Yeah.
out and seeing people doing great things, that's refilling. That's what I want to see. That's what I see for the community, is creating more art, seeing more artists get what they, you know, what they should be paid for their projects, and just seeing us thrive, seeing people, like, spread out across the world, not just in the Philippines but globally, and
Nice.
sharing the
Yeah.
creative, like, spirit here.
Cheers to that.
Sharing what Filipinos are all about. I mean, on the flag is the 3 stars in the sun. Like, that's warmth, that's light, that's everything, man. You know, like, that's a big thing for me, is that, you know, people are so eager to share and, you know, like, help and support and, you know, shine out here, and that's what it's all about, man.
What's your best advice for people trying to make art, man? Like you're spreading the good word, but if they're afraid or they're struggling, what would you say, man?
It's just for anybody. Like, you should just create because it makes you happy. Create because, you know, it feels good. Like, my advice is just to let loose. You know, just don't take things too seriously.
Did you ever have a
Yeah.
scare like, man, am I going to be able to pay the bills with what I'm doing?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, that's why the Starving Artist became my
That's your
brand,
brand.
because I turned something that's usually a negative thing into something
Yeah.
positive. You know, like, rather than starving for food and for, you know, like, money, starving for creativity, starving for connection, starving for walls, starving for new spaces, you know, starving for people to come and explore. Like, you know, there's different ways to look at it, and for me it was a way to, you know, like, battle that, you know, stereotypical, oh, you're a starving artist, you're just, you know, like, because, you know, I'm not definitely, like, you know, hurting, but I'm also, like, still growing, and there's a lot of room
Yeah.
to grow. And that's the thing about art, is, like, we never stop learning, we never stop growing, and you're only, you know, as active as you want to be. It's all up to you, because you're your own kind of boss, you know, and you're your own manager, you're your own everything, and you know who you want to share your art with, and you know who you want to, like, you know, give it to, and I think that's important. Yeah.
Nice. So when you were broke, you're just like, man, I'm going to call myself a starving artist and just roll with it.
I mean, we all start from somewhere, but
Yeah.
I mean, the best advice is, you know, like, we're not here to find ourselves, we're here to create ourselves. And that's one of the biggest things that people misconceive, is that they're always trying to find answers and find solutions and find, you know, like, opportunities. Just create them, you know, figure out ways, make ways. And there wasn't, you know, like, a big art and food and, you know, this whole, like, you know, Poblacion scene when I got here. So we got together and we created it. And that shows, like, you know, strength in community. That shows strength in your kapwa, you know, in the people around you. It's you know, holding people up. And I think when you're part of a good community, even though if you fall, you know, you don't hit so hard, because there's people there supporting you. You're not hitting rock bottom. You're hitting, at least, you know, people that are gonna help you back up.
Right.
And if you do it alone, like, you know, you only have yourself to blame. And when you have people around you, like, there's a great community supporting you that will get you to where you need to be.
Love it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's it, man. That's all I wanted to hear. Guys, you heard it from DJ. If you're trying to make this happen, just reach out to this man right here. He is a social catalyst. He's building an amazing art community here in Poblacion, and hopefully for Filipinos all around the world. Bro, thank you so much.
Cheers, man.